Jeff Chaikin, you have built a business around trying to address that irrationality. It was alluded to in Lisa's comments. Why don't you tell us what you're up to and how it fits into this ecosystem?
Yeah, thanks, Alan, for having me, and thanks, everyone, for joining. I think what I actually want to start off with doing is sort of describing how dysfunctional, a different element of how just dysfunctional this market is and why it's dysfunctional. Because once you sort of understand what's going on underneath the hood, you're in a position to solve it. And I don't want to wait till 2021 till then, or wait till politicians solve the problem. I think that the private sector and entrepreneurs and technology and collaboration amongst all the people on this floor can actually solve the problem a lot faster than that. So the first thing I want to say is that the pharmacy is like one of the most bizarre places out there. It's the only place in retail where people don't know what the price of the product is till they get to the pharmacy register. And I want to sort of put a hypothetical situation out there. Imagine Ken, CEO, me, or actually Zeke, the VP, and me, the guy that they just laid off, went into a Publix grocery store. And we were in 3 separate lines. We each had the same white loaf of bread. It cost $1 to manufacture. Ken went in. He paid $4 for that white loaf of bread. Zeke went in. He paid $20 for that white loaf of bread. I go in. I'm just laid off. I pay $150 for that white loaf of bread that was manufactured for $1 at the bakery next door. If that happened in the grocery store, there would literally be a riot. That's actually what happens every day in the pharmacy. There's no transparency, and people pay radically different prices for exactly the same product at the same store. And so what that means is that with that lack of transparency, you have no traditional market forces that are operating. And the outcome is that you have this irrational pricing that everyone's sort of talking about at the table here, or on the panel here. And what that ends up leading to is what Lisa was actually referring to, which is actually that 35% of medications are just left at the pharmacy counter, which is it's a completely shocking statistic. And 50% of medications are actually just not taken as prescribed. People are pill splitting, they're missing their doses, and that's obviously a huge tragedy for them. It's also a huge tragedy for the overall system because a lifetime of medications in many cases is cheaper than a few weeks in the hospital. So there's a major problem that patients are facing, and actually providers are facing a similar problem, which is that just as patients are blind to the price of medications before they get to the pharmacy counter, physicians are blind to the price of medications before they get to the pharmacy counter. So a doctor has plenty of tools to determine whether a drug is therapeutically appropriate. There's a whole bunch of things that are integrated into their EMR to determine what the safety and efficacy of a medication is, but they have no idea what the price of a medication is. And the reality is that if medication isn't economically appropriate for a patient, it's not therapeutically appropriate for a patient because they don't take it. So this is a major problem, and it's a problem for patients. It's actually a problem for providers. It's a problem for pharmaceutical manufacturers. It's a problem for pharmacies, and it's an overall problem for the system. The reality is that pharma companies aren't winning in this battle. Pharmacies aren't winning in this. Everyone's losing. There's just literally everyone losing. So the good news, though, is that this type of problem, where you have this type of market inefficiency, is a problem that we know how to solve as a society. We've done it over and over again. And the basic thing that you need to do the first thing that has to happen is we have to move these transactions online. So what happens today in this industry, it's the last major industry where there is no digital transaction. There's no ability to purchase those medications online. And so that prevents the Amazon effect from effectively happening. And we've seen the Amazon effect in books. We've seen it in travel. We've seen it in transportation. We've all experienced it across almost everything that we consume every day. As goods go online, you dramatically lower prices and you improve experiences. And the reason that you lower prices, there's two things that happen with the Amazon effect. The first is that you're able to provide transparency. So even if you only have 10% online penetration, the local bookstore, the local grocery store has to compete against that transparent price. That causes prices to go down. You're also able to aggregate demand. And the third thing that you're able to do is you're able to improve experiences by doing mass customization. We've all experienced that as we've gotten recommendations or we've been able to use points or loyalty points or other things to improve our experiences. So that's basically what we're doing at Blink Health, which is we're not waiting until 2021 until politicians change the laws. We're moving this category of commerce online today. That allows us to dramatically lower prices. And we're doing it actually in partnership with everyone. The beauty of it is that Blink today is available at every single pharmacy in the country. So even though we're providing lower prices on medications, those pharmacies are actually partnered with us for generic medications, which are 80% of fills. We're now working on partnerships with every major pharmaceutical manufacturer. So while they may not want new legislation, they're very eager to work with technology companies that are figuring out ways of making sure that the right patients are getting the right medication at the right time for the lowest cost.